What is up, everyone? Welcome back. It's great to have you here today. So we've got some fun stuff to talk about. But before I get into it, will you guys let me know, are my audio levels okay? Background music's good, my audio's good. I just want to make sure I'm not drowned out. Is it comfortable? If it is, please put a 1 in the chat. If not, 0. But hopefully it is. I always seem to have audio issues, so that's good. What is up? What is up? Mike Dalton, thank you. Multicade Matt, Retro Mod 64, appreciate you guys. Thank you. So today shall be a fun conversation. But basically, the topic that we are going to be covering is my purchase of a new cab. So, on my ventures, if you guys have ever seen my video that I did about San Francisco Rush, the Rock Edition, you guys would know that I have my arcade friend, Danny. So Danny finds a lot of cool stuff because of the business he's in. And he just so happened to come up on 2 Fast and Furious machines. Well, he thought one of them was broken, and it turned out not to be. So anyways, I went over to his house to help him adjust some of his monitors and work on some of his stuff, and help him fix the Fast and Furious arcade. And, you know, he basically got it kind of for free. So anyways, we're going to work out a little deal, and I'm going to go with that. Now, with that being said, we are aiming to pick up 2 Cruis'n USA cabs and 2 Rush 2049 cabs that we would like to flip. So that will be a fun venture. But as of right now, I was really trying to choose a couple days ago between those 2, Cruis'n USA and Fast and Furious, and I just couldn't pass up the opportunity to go with a Fast and Furious. You know, the first cab I think was released 3 years after the original film, and it's got Vin Diesel and Paul Walker on the side art. It's just cool. It's kind of like an iconic game. And then to top it all off, it's basically a beefed up version of Cruis'n USA. A lot of people will say that there's, you know, so much nostalgia with Cruis'n USA, and I completely agree. I completely agree with that. But there's something a little bit more iconic to me about the Fast and Furious cab. I mean, you guys let me know what you think in the chat. Retro Mod, you had a great point that you left as one of the comments on my poll, which we're going to pull up right now, and we're going to see what everyone voted for. So there was quite a few votes. I was actually really surprised of the results, but I'm going to pull this up right now so we can take a look at this and see the surprising results of this poll I did for, I have these 2 cabs. Let's check it out. So basically, I said, I have 2 full-size racing cabs to choose from right now, both working and nice. Which one would you choose? And I mean, by a huge margin, out of 165 votes, 79% said Cruis'n USA. I mean, that's surprising. I don't like, I kind of was expecting that it might win, but I don't think I was expecting the margin to be that huge. Now, what's interesting though, is if we go look at the comments, let's take a look here. So if we scroll down, you guys can see Cruis'n USA is just an arcade legend. And true. Memories and nostalgia for it. There's Retro Mod having Cruis'n World, Exotica, and FNF Drift dedicated units, I can say FNF has the most replay, and being newer, the benefit of locked 60 FPS and more fleshed out and memorable tracks. Really, really well said. So, Multicade Matt, Cruis'n tugs at my heartstrings. I mean, it got me too. I think Cruis'n for me was more of a, now I love the arcade version, but it was more of an N64 thing. As we go down, Office Arcade says Cruis'n. Mike of All Trades says Fast and Furious, without a doubt. Red Sea says Cruis'n had the nostalgia, but Fast and Furious has a more broad appeal. Retro Mod. Cruis'n USA may have nostalgia, but you know what Fast and Furious has? Family. I like it. Family. Fast and Furious, no question, from Bobby Broadway. Pokemon Crystal says Cruis'n. Biggie D says, I voted Cruis'n. Go with what you want. Writes Retrocade, FNF. Cruis'n isn't as complex, so replay value is less. Jay says, why choose? Get both. I wish I had the space. Fast and Furious from the Pastafarian. Bono's Techno, FNF. And Killer Look says Fast and Furious for sure. Because he's like... So the comments, I felt like, were definitely more pushing towards Fast and Furious, but the votes are like Cruis'n USA. But anyways, I had already chosen, and my choice was the Fast and Furious, and for various reasons, most of which have been stated in the comments. What's up, Ralphie, Thor, Jeff? Nice to have you guys here. But I think that there's just something iconic about the Fast and the Furious. And then on top of it, you have just a better build of a game, I think, because it is kind of very inspired by Cruis'n USA. It's raw thrills, and you have a really cool soundtrack. You have, better graphics, and it's just cool. It's just really cool. And I saw Fast and Furious in the theaters, of course. I think I was about, how old was I? Like 19 or 20 when it came out. And then the game came out a couple years later. But anyways, iconic, really fun game. So I decided to go with that. I'm excited to actually do the video and get into detail and show you guys more about it. But that ended up being my choice. And with that being said, I kind of started thinking, I was like, man, I wonder, because Ridge Racer is sold out now for Arcade 1-Up. And I'm always curious, what's going to be their next move with a racing cab, because we had Outrun. We had Ridge Racer, and Ridge Racer had a really long run and went down in price, which super cheap, right? But I went looking around on Reddit a little bit, and this is kind of what I found. This is one of the things that I found, but it was kind of prominent, and I found it interesting. So let's see. And this is a post by Biggie D. So this is based on information that was out of a stream. I don't know about all of it, but I do think that the one that if we scroll down and look in here, because this is really where I was headed. Where'd this thing go? Oh my gosh, it closed back up. Well, there was somewhere in here where it was talking about somebody was speculating that Fast and Furious might be coming. Now, retro mod, you know, there's a stand-up Fast and the Furious and a drift. So it would be easy for them to essentially take that Ridge Racer model and turn it into a Fast and Furious or, Daytona or whatever. Where did that go? Oh my God, it like closed the thread on me. Well, anyways, guys, that was a huge fail on my part. Sorry. But there's people speculating that it might be a cabinet that they do. It is Raw Thrills. They've worked with Raw Thrills before. Big Buck Hunter and I don't know, because my brain is literally failing me right now. But the bottom line is they have a relationship with Raw Thrills, and Fast and Furious is not a Nintendo game. None of those rights are owned by them, so it would be highly plausible that they could do a Fast and Furious cabinet, which is interesting. Now, these cabinets, if you're going for a full size, are somewhat sought after. They're usually not cheap if you get a working one. I mean, Retro Mod, I'm curious to know like what you paid for yours, if you wouldn't mind sharing. But generally speaking, if you're looking at like a refurbished with original parts, $300 is a steal indeed. For a sit down, it's not uncommon to see them going for 25 to 32, depending. Least path of resistance. That's a very acute observation, Multicade Matt. And I agree. It does seem that way. So, anyways, interesting things to think about. And then I kind of wanted to like look at these cabs as well. So we'll take a look at Cruis'n first. And let me see. I wish I could just like pause this from right over here. But we're going to take a look at Cruis'n. And this is on Generational Gamer's channel. So credit to him for this video. I'll leave a link in the description. And let's take a look here.
So I'm going to give this old Cruis'n USA machine a whirl right now. Let's see how it goes. I haven't done this.
Now, is that an original monitor? It looks widescreen. You guys help me out here. Or is it just not adjusted right? Is the vertical output not adjusted correctly? Is that it? LCD? Okay. All right. Well, the ones that I have. So one thing about me, if you guys don't know this, when I collect like actual arcade cabinets, coin ops, I don't think there's anything wrong with doing this, but me personally, I like to keep everything all original. I don't like replacing anything with LCDs or anything like that. I prefer it to be all the original hardware when I play it. And generally, that's always something that I'm aiming for when I buy them as well. So here we go. But you guys can see, so this is a sit down. It's essentially what you're getting. I mean, just if you look at the control panel.
We're going to see if usually the manuals in these games usually don't work, but we're going to give it a shot.
And that's another thing. Like the layout is similar to Fast, but when you're buying these racing cabinets, you always have to like check the shifter and all those buttons over there, because you'd be surprised, like some of the screw caps on the other side have been on there for so long that they actually start to rip the plastic, and then those buttons don't work. You're pushing it, but it pushes the switch back and doesn't depress it. And of course the shifters, usually they're pretty easy to fix for the most part, but it's generally something that you would rather not fix if, if you have a choice. Usually always a broken seat spring adjustment lock. That is another thing that can be broken. Luckily, on all the racing cabs that I have had so far or dealt with, they somehow haven't had that. But that's very true.
Do the cars really make any difference?
Yeah, they do. Certain ones are. This was modeled after the Camaro Z28.
Who's the chick on the side?
Who's the chick on the
There's
side?
second. There's third. And fourth. Somebody restored this game, obviously. I can tell by how clear the screen is.
It's not a CRT. It looks like an LCD screen.
It does. It's very clear. This game has definitely been redone. It's very clean.
We'll have to compare it to the N64 version.
Oh, the arcade was superior. Plus you had like in the arcade, you would like plow through cows. Remember that? I can't remember if that was on the N64 version, but I just remember there was more detail on the arcade version. So let's see if they go over. Here we go. We can get a little bit of a view over here. So here's the marquee. It's more of like a basic kind of style marquee. The heck? Why isn't that going away? Well, anyways, it's more of a basic kind of style marquee layout. You know, the overall design of the cab is it's not like anything crazy with like a bunch of plastic popping out. So it's kind of like got that typical, you know, fin design, so to speak. But anyways, the one that I had found needed a little bit of work, but with two of them, I could easily Frankenstein one together and there'd be no issues with a CRT. So that would be cool. But you can just kind of see that it's nothing too crazy. I don't think like the design is that big of a deal. I just think the originality is important to me when I'm looking at these. So
USA by Midway.
Great game.
Midway. So that's it. And then you have like, you know, the seat is your basic attached seat. And that one can actually slide off. So there's like wood, like rods, and then you just slide the seat on there. So then we have Fast and Furious. And keep in mind, both of these cabinets have stand-up versions, which follow like the fin design. The stand-up Fast and Furious and Drift both have like the fin design. I think the marquee looks a little bit better than the Cruis'n one, in my opinion. Retro Mod, you could speak on that too. I'd be curious to hear just what your opinion is. But anyways, let's take a look at this one. So you guys kind of saw some of the gameplay on Cruis'n, and then we're going to switch over here. This is 2004, which is almost 10 years later than Cruis'n. Thanks, Carl.
Wind, I'll blame my tyres if I don't fucking win.
So obviously you have that 60 FPS, very smooth. One thing about these is so compared to like my Rush has like a really realistic steering wheel feedback. And these are more like, it feels more like Ridge Racer, like the arcade one-up Ridge Racer. It's not as aggressive with the feedback. I don't know if you can adjust the settings. I haven't checked yet. But I kind of like it that way. It's a little bit more comfortable. And of course you have the shifter off to the right there. So it's a very similar layout to what Cruis'n was.
No excuse.
With the exception of you also have like the number dial pad over there, and like you have all this like kind of cool plastic flare. So if we go back here, let's see. because he kind of went up to the marquee.
Yep.
I did post a video of the cabinet on Twitter, if any of you guys follow me. But anyways, you can see the marquee there. It just part of that plastic mold, so it pops out a lot more. Yeah. So back to the game. And I mean, so it's like a full decade generational jump of arcade games. Now, the crazy thing about this is that it runs on a PC. It runs on a PC. That's crazy, right? What's up, Rich Wodello? I just took my son to the arcade and he played the Fast and the Furious Force Feedback full car version. It's amazing. It is, right? It's pretty freaking cool. So that's awesome. And then Thor Casey says for stick games, nostalgia is 60 FPS over nostalgia. For racing games, 60 FPS. Oh, wait. No, sorry. Nostalgia over 60 FPS. And then for racing games, 60 FPS over nostalgia. Well, my brain is like not functioning very well, but I think I understood that. Anyways, thank you. So back to this cab. Of course, the cabinet on the side art, you have, Vin Diesel and Paul Walker. Rip. I loved Paul Walker. I thought he was so awesome. He was really cute. And it's just iconic. So that's like my thing about it being iconic. But back to the PC thing. So if you guys did not know, this game actually runs on a PC that is literally runs off of a Windows XP. So thanks, Thor. Let's see. Microtel PC or Dell? Blown capacitors on the motherboard, which is typically a primary issue. Yeah, there's nothing major that I could spot in there. It was clean. I think the CMOS battery needs to be replaced, but the game works great. It boots up fine. All the fans are working. Everything mechanically is working on both of them. So it's a crazy pickup. But yeah, so it runs on Windows XP. It's crazy. And there's a couple games that actually, there's quite a few games that are actually like that. I think Street Fighter V is another one, just random for you. But there's a bunch of different, let's see, does the PC use a dedicated GPU? Yes, it does. I think the one that I have has NVIDIA, is it NVIDIA? NVIDIA 8400 GS, I think. But the other one runs off of a different PC. So I'm just thinking, the one that I am getting has an ASRock motherboard. I don't think it's a Dell. Maybe it is, actually. I'm thinking of like the boot screen, all black screen, and then up in the upper left-hand corner, you have like a bunch of little words. It might be a Dell. So it was interesting to see that. One good thing about that, though, is that it's relatively easy to fix that hardware, like the PC hardware. I actually have spare parts for stuff like that in my garage, believe it or not. Yeah, 100. Wait, what? Hello. But that's one of the cool things about those cabs, kind of like some of the games that have been put out in like the later Vulix cabs. They have like those Taito builds now where they have like a whole hard drive basically with all these games on it, and you just need a minimum of, I think it's like a 960 GTX. Is that right? But an NVIDIA 960 GT or GTX with like an i5, and you can just run all these arcade games on one build, and you're running like the actual arcade software on the proper hardware. It's pretty cool. Really, that is a fun fact. And that's also interesting when you think about that time frame and other games that were around. But that is very interesting. Dreamcast had a great port, the best port of Hydro Thunder, in my opinion. Okay, good. Good to know. But yeah, I mean, I'm curious, like in the chat, if you, let's do this. Let's see, should I make a poll? Ooh, let me make a poll. Polls are so fun. Wait, what? Community? Why do I not have a poll option here? Oh, here we go. Okay, start a poll. Dum dum da dum 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 dum. Let me see. Let me add one more option in here just for good measure. All right, I'm typing in the poll. Price, which one would you choose? All right, let me see. God, I feel like I'm taking like a century to do this. Or, because this is technically my set of options. All right, here we go. Boom, poll is up. Polls are the best. 19K Fox. What is up? I'll say, what do you guys say? Hua? But I'll say Ura as well. As well as to, well, if he's still in here, Richuadello. So here we go. We're going here. I see. Oh, these are very interesting. Wait a minute. Okay. Good. Oh boy. Oh, dude, I don't think I've ever done that before where it like covers the chat up like that. That's weird. All right. Hooyah. Yeah. I do. Indeed. By the way, guys, I'm very, even though I have my pink kitty ears, I'm very, racer-esque today. See with my jacket. Just trying to be festive. Rhea in the house. What is up? Whoops. Slide. Poll covers part of the chat in OBS. Oh, right. Yeah. What's up, Rhea? Thank you. Whoa, we're moving fast now. Let's see. For 300, buy all three dirt cheap. It's like the time of year right now. And I'll tell you, the economy is in bad shape. I like swindle my deals. I definitely have to like, and I don't mean in a bad way, but I'm always like figuring out the most dynamic way to make a deal because I legitimately have to either sell something or trade something. Let's see. RetroMod64 says, if you ever get a Cruis'n USA, you can direct swap the main PCB with Cruis'n World and Off-Road Challenge and vice versa. Oh, that's cool. There's actually an Off-Road Challenge selling out here in really minty condition for like $600, which I still think that's a really good deal. Cruis'n Exotica is not interchangeable. Different steering control board, among other changes, but at least you can have one cab and play 3 games to save space if you want original hardware. Now, can you do that with drift and fast? My God, can you do that with drift and fast as well? Or do you know? Let's see. Ridge Racer deals. Yeah, that was a pretty good deal for that cabinet. I mean, $299, $199, that's wild. There you go. Boom. I'm not even kidding you guys. Somebody out here is selling a stand-up. Now, it doesn't have a PC in it. It needs a PC, but somebody is selling a stand-up, like, together. Should be working if you throw a PC in it. Drift with all the side art. Everything's intact. It just needs to be cleaned up. Similar hardware. Security dongle. Ah. Interesting. There is like this weird dongle thing in the PC that I noticed. And I was like, what is that? And another thing is that I could not get into MS Config in Windows XP, which was weird. Takes a special PC. Okay. I still feel like it wouldn't be like too difficult though, to achieve that. And plus the software is like pretty much anywhere. Specific motherboard and video card. That makes sense. So XP embedded, right. Yeah, that mod really juices it up. I've been trying to figure out, are those all console games or are any of them the arcade versions? Like Daytona, is that console or arcade? See, this is like the purist side of me coming out, because some people are fine with it, but I'm like, I want to play, if I'm going to do that, I want the arcade version. I don't want to play the console version on there. And there's nothing wrong with it. I still think it's a really cool mod. But I always am going, like on an arcade platform in general, I'm always going to prefer the arcade version. I don't want console games. Always the first thing to check on those PCs to make sure the security dongle is there. They go for $400 on eBay or $800. Wow. Daytona runs different than on MAME. I have real Daytona as well. Okay. Yeah, a lot of times it's like it's usually like timing and frame rate with some of those racing games. Like it's noticeable because MAME is running on a PC platform, obviously, that is more powerful and than emulating older hardware. So consoles for console games. Yeah, that's kind of my thing too. So I'm very excited though to get this one. And I think I'm not sure if I'm going to replace the side art or not. It's not banged up very bad, but there's a few nicks on it. I think I might do T-molding. Everything else can literally just be wiped down and cleaned up. And I would pull like the steering wheel down to go behind the screen and stuff. but there's nothing like severely wrong with it. That's the crazy part. Initially, when we thought it wasn't working, we actually had to go in. So at first we thought the monitor wasn't working. I'm going to pull up. No, I'm going to let this go until the end of the stream, actually. But at first we thought the monitor wasn't working, and then Danny got it connected again, and he thought it still wasn't working, but then he booted up the PC, and I was watching the screen, and the boot sequence popped up in the corner, and I was like, yo, this is working. So we got into Windows, and somehow the game just wasn't auto booting, but I went into the directory, found the file, got it to boot up, and then we just had to turn off the jumper so that we could bypass the network play, which was easy once we found the jumper. So yeah, they still sell the software for it. I think you can download it. If you contact them, you can actually go to their website as well. No, it's actually not that loud. But you know what? My Rush cabinet, that fan sounds like a Harrier jet. It's wild. Hello from California. Oh, you tried that? Really? Interesting. I've seen people that have succeeded with it, so I wonder if that was just like a while back maybe, but that's interesting. It's good to know. I'll have to look into that more. But another thing I could do is clone the hard drive. Yeah. Or make an image of it. That's probably one thing that I would do. How much was it? That's interesting. How much was it? But I think, I mean, I should be able to clone it, no problem. Not too hard to clone hard drives. Just make sure I use the right hard drive. Of course, since it's a PC, you know, everything is very easy in-out swap, so that's good. Oh, that's not bad at all. That's not bad at all. Windows Embedded actually writes the motherboard serial on the disk image. Wow. That's impressive for 2004. eBay has restore disks for 20. Okay. Interdasting. I clone hard drives all the time for games like Killer Instinct, Golden Tee, etc. Okay, so no problem there, but with this one, it's a no-go. Well, that's good to know that you are speaking from experience. Motherboard and video card, is they are specific, yeah. Yeah. Well, anyways, I'm excited about them. You know, yeah, I'm just waiting. I feel like maybe a few more people might pass through, so I just want to see. Manny, what's up? Dude, I had to go with fast. I know you're a Midway fanatic though. I know that. I love Cruis'n, but I had to go with fast, and I was talking about why it's iconic to me. And it's, you know, it's a decade generation split. So I appreciate it, Justin. Much appreciated. Oh, all right. Ezekiel, what's up? Thank you so much for the super chat. Ezekiel says, hey Jade, so when are we seeing the new cab? So that's a good question. That's actually a great question. Or just vote. Very, very well. Okay, very well. Good point. Let me see. Wait. Why is it not? Oh, it doesn't let me. Never mind. All right. God, why? Oh, see, now with me live streaming, there, we ended the poll. So, ooh, that was close, but Fast actually won this time. So with 45%, 22 votes, Fast wins. Cruis'n OG got 40%, and then Rush 2049 got 13%. But I want to thank you, Ezekiel, and I'm going to answer this question because it's a very good question. So right now it's at my friend Danny's house, and I'm actually going to go finish working on it over there, and I'm probably going to do some videos while I'm over there next time, and hopefully we're able to get those other 4 cabs. Like, we're just waiting on confirmation for that, and he's going to be able to pick everything up. So it'll be fun to see that whole process kind of documented. But I would say hopefully within 2 weeks. I think 2 weeks. 2 weeks seems about right. But maybe some videos or shorts in between. I'm also still working on the second episode of Arcade Legends, and I had a few things that kind of were small setbacks, so I have to do a little bit more filming for that. Nothing crazy. So I think that's gonna be set back like another week. Yeah, but I really need to get that done as well. So let's see. T2 cab. Oh man, I wouldn't even know where to start on those. And they've got those, the mirror screen too. Weighs like 800 pounds. I believe it, but it cannot weigh more than this gigantic Rush, the Rock edition that I have. It's so long and fat. I feel like they're probably about the same though. But yeah, I kind of leave the heavy lifting to Danny, and then I've got my other friend who is in the Marines with me, and he'll come over and like lift heavy things too. They're very comparable. Okay. And hello, Dennis from Canada. I don't know if you're the same from Canada. That was just there a minute ago, but hi. Back issues for sure. Yeah, for real. So that's interesting. Like, the poll was much closer this time, but we only had 22 votes. So originally, you know, on my community page, we had like 165 votes, and it was like overwhelming. I just think that it's a very iconic game, The Fast and the Furious, and I love that aspect of it, but the driving aspect of it as well. And here's the thing, Cruis'n USA has a wide variety of levels and, you know, a long road to get to the end of the game if you go on like the tour, right? And Fast and Furious kind of has that same setup. So it's very similar to the way that Cruis'n USA is built. It's just like really juiced up. And I like that aspect of it. I like, you know, that you can use nitrous, and they have, it's just expanded. Kind of like a Cruis'n USA with a Fast and Furious expansion pack. The original Cruis'n, so there's 2 of them, and I'd have to Frankenstein it to make one, but it would be totally fine because it's all original parts. But I'm definitely gonna be keeping the Fast and Furious as my racer, and I'll have to get rid of Rush the Rock. So the B-roll, yeah, it is. It's really it's just a really cool game, and the cabinet's so cool. I'm excited to show you guys. Maybe it'll sway more people. Maybe more people will be like, oh, this is cool. Like, oh, maybe, hopefully we do get this from Arcade 1-Up. It's definitely a really, really good alternative to Cruis'n fans as well, in my opinion. So, sorry, I'm reading comments. So, are the controls the same? Wait, are the controls the same across the three, or is one better than the other, e.g. force feedback? If you're talking about Cruis'n, Cruis'n and Fast, I want to say they're about the same. I want to say that Rush has the most adjustable force feedback that I've dealt with to this point. Now, Rush 2049 is actually in a cabinet that is almost exactly the same as Fast and Furious. So I don't know if they changed the dynamic of the force feedback in that particular one. And yeah, it is force feedback, but like the adjustability of Rush The Rock and San Francisco Rush, it's way more sensitive, and it feels more like what it would feel like if you were really driving on a road. Yeah, it really does. Right, you can set the tension on it, and I don't know if it's the same as in Rush. I'm assuming it is, but it's all software settings that goes to the hardware. So it is very different, but the settings on Rush seem like they're more sensitive than the settings on Fast and Furious. That's just my opinion. I mean, I think I'll be able to speak on it better once I've had the cab for a little while. It's hardware and Fast. Well, yeah, I don't know if I'm saying that right, but it's hardware in Rush as well, but there's software settings that adjust basically the way the hardware acts. And I know you know that, but I'm just trying to like say what I was saying correctly. But to me, like I was comparing when I test drove the one that I fixed, I was comparing it to like Arcade 1-Up Ridge Racer. Like it felt kind of like that. It wasn't like overwhelming amount of force feedback, but it had like rumbling and force feedback. So, I try. Anyways, it'll be a new experience for me to get into a newer generation of a racer cab, and also, the hardware itself, as far as like what runs the game and stuff like that. So it'll be a good learning experience. This is one that I'm excited about. I think Rush is kind of an iconic racer as well, but there's also, it is aged, and it's a really cool one to have, and I definitely want to keep a good racing cab in my collection. So I think that right now Fast and Furious is kind of going to be like my iconic piece, just because if I had to choose between those three, I've thought about it, and I definitely would go with Fast and Furious. And again, because of the iconicness and the awesome gameplay. So yeah, the cover stays off the case. So definitely, I agree. And that's with most PC setups, you really do have to be careful with that when you're running arcade software, especially because arcade hardware is on for so long. I mean, I don't run mine all the time, but I try to power mine up at least once a day, like the coin ops, because I want them to run. I want the CRTs to warm up. I feel like that's better than just letting them sit. It's like if you let your car sit for too long, things start to break randomly. I agree. Yeah, I mean, that is that is one of the nice things about JAMA PCBs. But the difficult thing about them is parts. You know, unless you're like really well versed in EEPROMs and stuff like that. Oh, I don't know. That's beyond me. It's not a bad idea though, but again, I'm like very purist about my actual coin ops. Like I want them to be exactly how they were made to be, because I feel like that's, if I'm gonna own it, I want the exact play experience that its baseline is, if that makes sense. So I want to keep that baseline. Oh boy. Well, we are coming to that time, you guys. It's close. We got about 5 minutes left. If you guys have any questions, hit me up. Let me know. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are. Manny says, I had a few Need for Speed Undergrounds that would mess up all the time. UG was an arcade cab? I didn't know that. Wow. I'm such a noob. Some of like the newer generation arcade cabs, like I'm not extremely familiar with, other than like really, really mainstream ones. Oh, that's crazy. I guess it was about that time, now that I think about it, and I was... Interesting. That's interesting. But I'm excited to get it. I'm excited to share it with you guys and show you guys, so you guys will get to see as well. And this is another fun thing that I'm trying to do this year when I'm working with Real Coin Ops, is showing you guys what I'm doing and, you know, a restoration project, and then sending it off to whoever the buyer is or whatever. So that's going to be like something that I'm really looking forward to doing, is going over these things and like my little finds and all day. But I'm very excited to do that, so that there will be incoming content on cabs that I won't necessarily be keeping, but 100% you guys will be seeing like the restore process. You'll be seeing, you know, them operating the, like before and after, and it's gonna be cool. I'm really excited to do that. But I will definitely be keeping the Fast and Furious. The other ones will be part of restoration content, but I will definitely do an exclusive video on the Fast and Furious and that whole process as well. So expect to see eventually, hopefully, as long as the deal goes through, Cruis'n USA and Rush 2049 as restore projects, and then obviously 100% Fast and Furious will be coming into my space. It will be taking the place of Rush the Rock Edition, and that's kind of in the, let's just say, in the next quarter of this year, that will be coming. And then obviously Arcade Legends, you know, the objective is to get one episode out every month, and it's mainly like the editing that takes time on that. So it's hard to get ahead of that. Like my life is really busy. So it's hard to stay ahead of like the editing curve. Yeah, no, I think I'm going to pass on that. But I think it's going to be, if they do release Fast and Furious, I think it's going to be really cool that they're bringing that, you know, home. I think it'll be great, as a matter of fact. But when I can get, you know, like the real full-size cabinet and play on the original hardware and just get that iconic thing like for less than what the arcade 1-up version is going to cost, I'm definitely going that route. Yeah, editing, oh my god, it just takes forever. I think the last episode that I edited, I literally spent I spent a whole weekend doing like the main part of the editing, and I know it was like compiled. It was over like 46 hours total. And that was with stuff that I had already done previously. So that was on top of that. And then I had to recompile the edit because I actually switched over to an iPad. So it was very time consuming. Thor KC says, if they release Fast and Furious on Arcade 1-Up, that would only make the full-size one even cooler to have. I agree. Yeah. It does kind of glorify the originals. And the other thing is, too, I'm sure that if they do that, whatever the racing cab is that they release, but you won't get a pixelated Vin Diesel top-quality Arcade 1-Up side art with it. Oh. Hopefully they're able to get the licenses to have Paul Walker and Vin Diesel on there. That would be really cool. But yeah, I mean, if they do release it, then, presumably it's going to go on sale at some point, right? And maybe that'll be another one that at the end of whenever they do release it, whatever year that is, that you'll be able to pick it up for $2.99, because that would probably be a steal. So, but definitely, oh man, you know what my bucket list for coin ops is right now? I need to get a DK Jr. and I really want to get a Gapless, but those are so hard to find. But the cabinet is so beautiful. That's one of the ones that, like, the game is cool, but I really don't care about the game. Like, the cabinet just is so cool. But those are kind of like the two coin ops that I really would like to get my hands on. I don't have like enough space to get all the ones that I want, but if I had to pick like the remaining two after a racing cab, it would be those ones. So underrated, right? So underrated. Oh yeah. Yep, that's right. The new movie's coming out. I just saw that the other day. I'm like, what a coinkydink. I'm buying the cab, or I'm getting the cab right now, and the new movie is coming out. So, oh boy. Well, ladies, gentlemen, I would like to thank you so much for joining me today. It was fun to talk about this stuff. It was fun to do a poll and then have you guys like come back and like kind of talk about everything. And it was interesting to see some people kind of change their opinions even a little bit. So it was very awesome. Thank you so much, you guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments. Suggestions, leave them down in the comments. And please, if you enjoyed the stream on your way out, make sure to hit that like button. And you guys have a great hump day. And stay safe out there. And until next time, I'll see you guys then.